Ready?
Ready.
Okay, welcome,
We're all here.
Ambassador Krause, to this Board of Trustees workshop meeting. It is June 9th, 2026. Can I get a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Rosenberg, Deputy Mayor Galen, all in favor? Everybody, we're all here. All right. First order of business, we are talking about Gould Park Community Center request for qualification. We have Valerie Manastra from Nelson Pope, who has been leading this charge to go over the top three candidates that we think are the strongest options. Everybody got a link to all of the responses, I believe, so you can go through them if you want to in further detail. This is backing up one moment, the bathrooms at the pool burnt down some number of years ago. Two, really? And when the board was deciding whether to just rebuild what was there or do something that different, there had always been some sort of movement towards a community center that would solve some wintertime and summer camp needs. That would be an indoor facility that would then also be the bathrooms that we need to rebuild for the pool. And we didn't want to do just the bathrooms in a silo. So then this request for qualifications came out of that, trying to find a partner who could develop the area to solve that problem and the other problems that we've had, and see what kind of budget we'd be talking about so that that can inform our capital planning. And
if there's anything that like jumps out. What we did do is we did look at for internal review for evaluation criteria, specifically looking at whether there was a clear understanding of the scope of work, the demonstrations of design excellence, meaning did they have like a, you know, experience dealing with this type of product, and, you know, what examples did they show? Were they, you know, were you looking at just like a tin building, or was it something that, you know, actually brings like an architectural uniqueness to the project? Team qualifications, overall schedule, proposed cost estimates and details, and references. And so from there were three that particularly rose to the top, and that was BKSK, H2M, and PBDW. Yes, all acronyms, right, exactly, all acronyms. But I think for the most part, they did show they understood the scope of work. They did have good references in terms of like examples. And one of the things that we noticed and we started looking at very carefully, because some people put together a team that the village would be working with, but that team did not necessarily work on their examples that they were putting forth as examples for the village to consider. So we definitely looked at that. So the team that they're putting forward in all three of these firms actually worked on other community center projects and projects similar to what the village would be undertaking. And then, of course, the understanding the overall schedule, and that they provided references, but we did not call them. Because I think this is really the next discussion is to where does this board want to go? Was there any other particular group that, you know, that you thought was worth having, you know, a look at again, or was everyone comfortable with the three that were sort of narrowed down? And I'll turn it over to the mayor to decide, like, you know, how the board wants to proceed with next steps, whether that's you know, interviews with the full board or small subcommittee.
Right. That was the main thing that we need to figure out today is, does anybody have anything they want to talk about regarding what you saw? The RFQs that came in?
At first, I don't feel the need to like redo the work that you guys already did in staffing. Lansted, I don't read deep into all of them, and I certainly didn't put down a rigor on it, but I don't anything reasons visit the work that you guys already did. I would like to participate in interviews one way or another. But I don't need to say like, no, what about this one? Because there's probably an answer for that.
How do you feel about interview process? Everybody else, like we would then be meeting with them to talk more about their RFQs and getting to know them better. And what we're trying to figure out is if it's a subcommittee or the whole board that wants to do that. Does the board want to have a subset do it, or do you all want to do it?
Would be happy to have a subset, but and then if the subset simply cannot make a recommendation, a single recommendation, you know, then we can. But I think it can also be a lot more of a process of something.
And I think we can, that, so if individuals who are not on that may have specific questions they want to get answered or addressed, that's a thing that, you know, will be part of that. I should say this, that, you know, there are candidates who had, and, you know, the three that we liked, you know, there were little things that were not ideal about everyone, right? Like, you know, we really like this person's design work, but their cost is high. We really like this, you know, the team for this one group, but they didn't really give us a lot of information about the community outreach component. And so the interviews are a chance to really look at the teams that seem to excel and focus on the areas where they may have, you know, need some improvement, and see if that's a function of what the team is or just how they, like how the RFQ document emerged from their, whatever their internal process is. So I think there's still a lot to be done to hone in on just the right person. I don't know if we're gonna meet everyone for 45 minutes and it'll be 100% clear what we want to do. I think we want to negotiate with them, you know, folks on where their fee structure is. And maybe that's when we hone in a little more on the program, why they are, you know, why they have such a large fee, for example, for like we included a thing, which is sort of above and beyond what a typical design team would include for their services, and that is this very heavy on-site presence. And so they're, to support relatively experienced architect to be on site for a very long time is expensive because their hourly rates are relatively high compared to other sorts of professionals. So there may be ways in which we can approach that problem from a different angle. Partly, maybe that's an independent firm that specializes in that kind of thing. Maybe we do use AI, who we have negotiated sort of better rates with on certain things, and they are, involved in that process, or some combination of village people like us and staff, like we did for School Park. So I think there's a big opportunity to take a huge chunk of money and kind of, reconfigure how that money's spent and maybe save a lot there. So, but again, that's a good discussion point for these groups, like, where do they? We also don't want to pay someone $250 an hour who doesn't do that regularly. If we can pay someone half that, who does it? So.
And there are general contractors that would specialize in construction management too, so they might not be on the team that you eventually choose, so you might be able to do that outside of the scope, because oftentimes the general contractor, if we're gonna find the feasibility for the PLA to be able to move forward with a single contractor, oftentimes that contractor is responsible to pay that oversight and cost. So it could be something you back out completely, but until you have a conversation with the teams themselves, who really won't know what sort of focus or direction.
Right, but all the teams did have somebody
Yes,
that
they
would
did.
be able to do that kind of work.
And some of the names of the firms that they've included, I'm very familiar with other very large public works projects.
Just from a, subcommittee versus board perspective, this is also the subcommittee route was the way we went for the affordable housing program. That was very successful to sort of do in a smaller group in case anybody's, worried about saying like, deferring it to, a subset and not being involved, like that was a very effective way to go. It's like, here's the choices, bring the choices to the board and the recommendations, and then the board ratifies.
And it's the first step in a lot of, there's a lot of steps here, so it's not like the building's gonna get designed. I mean, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
So we need to be nimble.
I only heard Donna.
Oh, I'm good with the subcommittee, you don't want too
And-
many cooks.
And so the subcommittee would be Mike, me, and Matt? Question mark, or would anyone want to be
I
in
do
it?
not want to.
Okay. That's cool.
No,
Is
that
okay?
makes sense, absolutely.
If not, we can have that discussion. Shouldn't just automatically go to the old people on the
Yeah.
team. Thank you guys.
It's just can't have porn unless.
Not old in age, obvious.
Long standing.
Good. Don't. Okay.
You guys veterans.
Veterans,
Yeah.
better. Okay, so we got that.
Okay.
What else do we need
Wanna-
to know? Anything, is there anything about the actual? Was everybody able to see them, get the link, and you could see the proposals from them? Yeah.
You
Okay.
got a wonderful response, it really was good.
Yeah,
Especially so early on in a project to have these firms interested in helping you through this very important first step.
All right,
Yeah, and good firms. So it's like, it's not like we had good options to choose from. So. Okay.
all right,
all right,
that's
excellent.
it. That took my best time.
Thank you, Beth.
What else should we add? Okay.
So just so we know what the next step is, would you want to reach out to the three teams
Yeah.
and let them know that they are on shortlist and we would like to schedule?
Right, I think with Margaret, I think her and I will probably work with a schedule
Okay.
with the three of you first, to make sure like certain dates that are available, then we can reach out to them and say you're being invited.
Great,
And
thank you.
okay, cool, sounds great.
And you're really choosing a partner in the same, you're right, in the same way you chose a partner for the mixed level, the mixed income level project. You know, you're choosing a partner.
It's not an affordable housing project?
Well, I think we determined that the developers interested in.
No, I know, I
addressing
haven't
mixed
heard,
income
I haven't
levels.
heard that phrase.
Yes, we have been using that phrase actually. Consistently.
Okay, all right,
Okay, and
on
we're
to
gonna
number
have
2,
3.
3 to 7.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. All right, number 2,
Can we ask them to give us like real names and stuff?
instead of acronyms.
Okay.
Well, at the end of the day, the acting would be helpful. Now.
Yes,
All right, so let me tell you, this number 2 is the discussion of village funding match for Guild grant for the mini forest project. So, the Larry is here from the Sustainable Jobs had proposed this mini forest project and it received a Guild grant of 1,700, 1,800, 1,800. The total project cost is about 4,000.
No, the total project, is, as envisioned, is like, 56. I'm sorry. $5,600.
Yeah, 3,600. And we didn't commit as a board toward any, like, any of the funding, any of the matching at the point of the application for the Guild grant. So, what we need to discuss now is if the entirety of the project for the mini forest is 5,600, and we received a grant from the Greater Irvington Land Trust for 1,800. And we received a $3,000. How is that presented to us and have we accepted it yet? The win for the whole Resilient River Towns was like a win of $3,000. So it wasn't really a grant, it was more of a win, and they delivered a check, and I don't know if we accepted or how that works yet, but.
Over to Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, we deposited the money.
But how is that? That's just a donation ultimately? Right, with no specific use allocation required, except that it was applied for. Or we participated and Jobs claims that it's going toward, sustainable initiatives. And,
It's a revenue that wasn't budgeted for, that's why the board has to accept it.
right, yeah. And so Sustainable Jobs has a recommendation of how we should use that $3,000. And they were hoping that we would use 1,000 of it toward the mini forest and then 1,000 for something else and 1,000 for something else. I can't remember off the top of my head what those were. But it's up to us as to whether we want to take the 3,000 and apply it towards this mini forest project or use money from the general fund. Where it comes from is where I go to Jeff, like where we would pull that from, is it there? And then do as they recommended.
The specific ask from Sustainable Jobs is that we match the 1,800 from Guild with 1,800 from the general budget. Then take an additional 1,000 from the scavenger hunt proceeds. And then Sustainable Jobs will seek grants and private donations for an additional $1,000 to top up the budget.
They can't accept, they can't.
No,
see, right,
we would accept donations on their behalf. I mean, they would seek grants or they have some members who would consider kicking in. That would be a good process on that.
Mhm.
Totally gratuitous. Sorry, wanted to say that for the app.
Right.
But they do have other things that they want to ask us for to apply that, the remaining $2,000 of the scavenger hunt for. And yes, it's all fungible, so we could just say we'll do it this way and ask us for more money for the other things later.
Or recommend we spend money, because it's
Ask, recommend,
different, it's different.
for the owl, I agree that they're different.
Thank you.
But anyway, so the net is that there's, if we want to provide funding for, up to the $2,800 that they've asked us for the mini forest, that's sort of on the table for us to decide and then figure out where that money comes from.
And I'm trying to get this to, so that I feel like that even us as a board understands the difference in all of these is that, you know, we want them to be finding great things for us to do that are sustainable initiatives. And we want to fund them, but we want to make sure that it's part of our budget and that we're planning for it and that it's not just, you know, it's not coming in hot. And then we have to decide to reallocate funds in June at the end of the year. And it wasn't accounted for previously. So it's not really like, we don't have a rolling budget of money that just can be moved around so easily. And that's why we try to plan, is to plan ahead for these things. And we want to plan and we want to have these projects. So this is just a good example of something that if we didn't have this discussion, we just did something and matched it or whatever. I mean, it's worth taking a minute just to recognize what goes into making these decisions and but then also whether or not everybody's willing to take 1,800. I don't know where that would come from. We would have to ask Jeff, like, I don't know which budget line we would move something to spend 1,800 on the mini forest. I know there's contingencies for stuff like this to happen, but the more contingencies we have, the more unpredictable everything is that we're spending on. And so I'm just to sure that we're not doing too many of them.
Contingency today is a non-contingency tomorrow.
When you look, just want to also make sure that none of the activities that, and this is an example of one, none of the activities that the group is planning would run afoul of anything that the parks employees would routinely or normally be responsible for.
What is the mini forest project? I was looking at my notes. I don't think I know what that is.
No, that's okay, it's okay.
Come up, this is Larry.
Talking to the owl.
Our owl doesn't have a name like the libraries, but.
But sustainable.
Yeah, there was this Japanese botanist, Hira Miyawaki, who came up with this idea of planting forests that grow fast. And his concept was you plant your plants really close together, much closer than you would normally in a rather confined space. You can have a space like as small as a parking space in a parking lot, and you can get a mini forest out of it. And so you plant different native species from your area, and you plant ground cover, shrubs, canopy trees and canopy trees, but of course you're starting out with them small, not like big trees, but you're planting them very close together in a grid, and each cell of the grid is about a meter square. And so the forest that I envisioned for Chauncey Park would be about 21 square meters, which is about the size of the mini forest that I planted in my yard. So I'm kind of used to that as a standard. So anyway, I think I planted a total of like 180 plants all together. And so essentially, when you plant them close together, you get a synergy among the roots of the plants. And so that encourages them to grow faster and taller. And there have been some estimates that plants or trees, especially in a mini forest, grow like 10 times faster than if you planted them conventionally. So the idea is that in a relatively short time, you're getting, pretty decent looking small forest, and which has, a lot of benefits. You're pulling in the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. If you're in a flood area, you've got all the roots of the plants that help to absorb the water. You get shade. So there are a lot of benefits associated with it. And it's a pretty well proven way or strategy now for creating a forest in a relatively short time.
For a sense of scale, 21 square feet is about just eyeballing at the perimeter of this table. Meters, oh,
Yeah,
and I'm wrong about that thing. Feet, right. Meters, I'm wrong. That's feet. Yeah.
It's,
Twice this.
small, yes.
So
And
this
this
came,
is a plot at the existing Chauncey Park.
Yeah, it would be, it would be
But I'm looking for the state.
within Chauncey Park, so it would be on Dobbs Ferry Park land.
Thank you.
and
For
so
that,
this
just for
came, like, he proposed this back when I was liaison to sustainable, and they, the sustainable group was like excited about it, and like, have been encouraging him and trying to move this forward. And, we're trying to get a better process in place for how we can have a project like that come to us during budget season, so that we're planning for it. And, it didn't, we haven't done it yet. We haven't figured out how to nail that down, but we will next year. And so that's why it's happening now. And then since they've been discussing it, is why it went to Gilt, because it is a private grant. So here we are. So it would be a really cool thing to have in Chauncey Park. It would be, something worth talking about. It's an educational thing, correct? I mean, and
Oh, yeah,
plus-
many of them are actually planted at schools because it is.
right, it's like a conversation to have when you look at it and read about, assuming there would be like some sort of sign at some point.
It's also, it's a great experiment to, so that, and Chauncey Park is now a very popular hiking trail. So it's a great experiment for people to see how it works, get some inspiration to do their own and see these, sort of deployed in many other yards aside from just ours.
And the fact
My
that
own.
it grows so quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sort of not instant, but nearly instant gratification.
Right.
I know when we plant seedlings, it's.
Quickly means that after 3 years, supposedly, it's maintenance free. You don't have to pull weeds or water it. It's sort of self-sustaining, which
How long is your forest?
I planted mine, last fall and, it's really doing well. Most of the plants, survived the winter. I think it helped have all the snow that protected them. And, things are really growing up, so.
It's a great thing too for Chauncey Park because there's been such a massive volunteer effort in Chauncey Park to clear it, to clear the weeds, to make sure that the path's passable. It's largely CAB, but the just the fact that it is a park that's coming back into use because of volunteerism, like this is a great other demonstration project for what volunteers and docs can do.
I was just curious when you said the 5,800 number or whatever it was. So it sounds like the mini forest can scale up or scale down. Is there a reason? I know that that's kind of what you did, but if we said, okay, we've got 1,800 from Guild and 3,000 from the sustainability, and given that we didn't budget for it in this budget season, is there a reason why that's 4,800? What would it, just out of curiosity, I'm not saying we should do this, but what would it do to your plans if the village had 4,800 toward this? Is there a reason it needs to be at that $5,800 level, or?
Well, I was just really basing it on my own forest, and how much I spend on that, and whether it seemed to me that it was a good size, and so of course, I mean, anything like that can be shrunk or expanded based on resources. And, we can certainly be flexible if there's a limit, and I think as was mentioned here, I myself am willing to kick in the extra money that we don't get if necessary.
And does it spread?
If you wanted to, yeah.
Okay, on its own, it spreads.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it
that
can
kind of-
actually be, there might be a situation where you don't want it to spread, and you can pretty easily prevent that from happening. Maintaining it.
Sounds like we want it to spread.
Yeah, I think it would be good, but, once they get started, they can really fast.
So I'm kind of unclear on kind of Chauncey Park is this? Is this the area?
Yeah, that looks like it, dug up, like, yeah, it's, I mean. It's got a lot of potential, Chauncey Park, and we're really hoping that the mini forest will help to add to its attractiveness.
So it's probably in there.
Yeah,
Kendra, can you come up so I can just ask you things? To the owl?
Thank you.
And reduce our entire audience to the owl.
Cause I just wanted to check in on the rec commission and how this is a proposal for a project that's going on in a village park, and I don't know that this has gone through a proper process of getting approval for this. If we were to approve spending for it, I'd rather have
Right.
knowledge around that.
It did not come to the rec commission.
But it's also not an official Dotsford Park.
Chauncey?
I mean, it's like we're,
No, part of it's
No,
not.
Chauncey
The rest
oh,
of
the
it
shop,
is.
okay,
Yeah.
the rest is the rest is.
High Street is not.
No, no.
The DOT portion.
I specifically asked, it was going in the
It's
existing
not going
Chauncey
into
Park.
DOT for
It
it.
Alright,
is.
yeah, yeah.
It Probably won't fit.
The commission tends to weigh in on recreation issues more than parks issues. In my experience anyway.
We have in the past, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is, again, gets to like process and
Yeah.
like the process that we've been drafting. Like haven't tackled that component of it yet, you know, but again, in the spirit of committees make recommendations, they don't ask for direct expenditures or activities. You know, I think you would wanna. Like, I think if we're gonna expand the mandate of the Parks and Rec Commission to be like approving of. Parks projects, then we need to have a bigger conversation about that, but. We don't need to have right now, but. Like, I think like signing off on. Like. Rentals at embassy is a little different from what we're. Talking about.
I have another idea about funding. We have a tree fund, which is money that residents pay into a fund when they want to cut down a tree. They have an option to replant or to pay a percentage based on the size of the tree they're removing. So there has been some ongoing collection of money through that, through the building department. And, you know, ultimately, when we started that program, our recommendation was that the CAB would make recommendations to this board on how to allocate that money for plantings. And the idea is we would be planting trees. And since this is a tree planting, you know, forest, mini forest project, seems like an ideal first candidate to receive funds from that tree fund. So I don't know where we stand with that and how that money has been allocated in the budget, but we should think about that as a possible source to make up some of the deficit that's agreed. So
I'm still unclear, what is the overall goal or plans for Chauncey Park? Is it kind of reforest this or mostly the trails? I've never been there.
It's a passive recreation for it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there hasn't been like beyond trying to create a trail that connects from one point to the other and us acquiring that space in the middle. That's been about the extent, besides the work that the volunteers have done in trying to not have it be
But
overrun.
it's not a development.
Yeah.
It's like the jury. It is,
Okay.
it's a forest and there's a lot of other
Open
things
space.
happening there that are not forest, there's wetland, et cetera. The idea is that
okay.
we let it be.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
create some areas that people can use and enjoy, but for the most part, it's to pick a nice one.
All right.
No playgrounds, no facilities, no
No.
parking, you know, yeah, just.
So then, yeah.
There's
so
a very
that's
nice
pointing
trail
out,
there.
Think of it like
This
the,
hole right here,
think of
that's
it
what
like,
we're enforcing.
Pretty much, yeah.
think of it like the jury, and that's an
Okay.
unfortunate, that was, you know, part of where, material that was excavated in the
Yeah.
construction of the, you know, the whole project adjacent,
Yeah.
or multiple projects, they dumped a lot of soil there.
Okay.
And so that's why you have that.
It's the amount of soil.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's mainly boulders. When you, if you actually go over there, it's mainly an area of very large boulders that would be very expensive to move.
Not
But there is a trail there that goes from essentially the corner by Mom's Market
Right.
through Chauncey Park, all the way to the end of the road, Southfield Avenue, where where Battaglia Brothers is.
Yeah.
And it's a 10-15 minute walk. There's a lot of people, take short recreational walks there, walk their dogs around up there, and it's become something that nobody knew existed to something that a decent number of people are enjoying.
All right, so then I guess the question is there tree fund money that would be appropriate and,
I have a couple of ideas on that.
Talk to Al, Jeff? What has the tree fund been used for in the past?
As far as I know, we haven't used any of the
It's new.
funds.
Yeah, it's a new fund because I think just 2 years ago, we strengthened the ability of this preservation aspect in your code.
It's like
Okay.
payment in lieu of kind of thing.
Okay.
Are you saying what they are?
There are some special purpose funds that have kind of been stagnating for years. Maybe that this could be used for, a good use for those funds. Instead of even going with the tree line, maybe going with this other.
There's other,
like what?
there to elaborate.
Ugh, can't remember all of them off the top of my head, but there's some North End Soccer Field, there's Pocket Park. There's a few, I just don't remember, there'd be enough money there, to be moved.
So then would everybody be interested in finding a way to do the match that they requested from 1,800 from the village to come from one of these funds? And then Jeff can propose what that would be to us at an upcoming meeting. And then we would basically agree to the other thousand from the Resilient River Towns. The other uses that they were hoping we would consider was 1,000, so it's 3,000 total that we won. And then 1,000 would go to this, 1,000 would go to Gould Park for a pollinator garden on one of the pathway islands near the basketball court as proposed by the Parks and Rec Commission.
That's already accounted for.
Yeah, so we already have funding for that from the Gold Park donations.
Okay. So maybe there's another 1,000 that can go towards the mini forest.
In pockets here.
And another 1,000 was going to the waterfront park for a project to completely renovate the 9/11 memorial with native shrubs and perennials. That was a proposed project from the Friends of Waterfront Park.
Which I think they already just did, didn't they? Didn't they just?
9/11?
Yeah, didn't they just do a 9/11 refurbishment?
They haven't done it yet. They are working on it.
Oh, I know.
So they want money for plants, basically.
Yeah, like we would take 1,000 from this, put it in DPW so they could buy the plants for the
Oh,
waterfront.
we're saying, so 18 plus 18 is 36.
Plus 1 plus 2 is 56.
56.
Bum, bum, bum. So that might be what we try and do with the 3,000.
I mean, in general, I think splitting up the 3,000 is like not. I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze. Except that we happen to have this one other.
Yeah.
Is already in the works, but in general, like the objective here is like the proposals come to us first. We approve the proposal, then we figure out how we're gonna fund the things that we've approved of, so. That is, we're trying to play catch up with our committees who are way ahead of us, which is lovely.
Yes,
It is.
They are very good at getting money, which is amazing.
okay. So then I think we have our answer. Just gonna find out the 1,800. We'll take 2 from the 3,000 winnings, $2,000. And put it towards this because Gould Park was already completed. And then we'll connect with Steve and on the waterfront park, and applying 1,000 of it towards renovating the 9/11 memorial with native shrubs and perennials.
All right, we just saved Larry from reaching into his wallet.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you for the fun idea.
Christmas starts early.
Well, thank you for all your help and encouragement and interest in our project, really just want to appreciate it. Thank you.
Can we do a
Thank you for
ribbon
coming
cutting of
to-
like an invasive vine or something though?
I can get you plenty of invasive vines, though.
Yeah, do that instead of with ribbon, so that people know that it's there, because we haven't done, you know,
That's a good
Crystal
idea.
Village board thing there. So,
Okay,
but-
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Do we have any old business from any workshops we need to do here while we have 15 minutes? Can we just go into?
Well, you want to spend 15 minutes talking about the double poll
Yes.
email that I sent earlier?
You wanna do that?
Well, yeah, I think we either have to do it here or you have to do it there.
Might as well do it here.
Because, as I explained, the final, local law has to be on the desks of, believe it or not, the Board of Trustees
Okay,
in advance of the public hearing. And if you're gonna vote after you close the public hearing, you don't have to, you can wait, but Matt had suggested some changes to the local law. The local law we used was based, at your instructions on Ard's lease, version. I indeed, I pull up a lot of other versions, but, we found at your request, that Ard's lease should be used sort of as the same.
Yeah, and this doesn't change the structure or most of the details in that. It just provides some contingencies that may be just local to us, that Ardsley did not have when we drafted this law. That I think just like sort of close some gaps and in a couple of cases sharpen some teeth. The idea being that Con Ed and Altice and Verizon were the three utilities that maintain wires on poles. Small fines don't matter so much to them, so we want to make sure that there's some real, I want to make sure that there's some real fines in here, so the items are, we have an existing backlog of double poles. When the mayor and I and Rob spoke to Verizon when we were first trying to get the ball rolling on better bandwidth in the downtown. That was one of our asks. I think, Rob, you put together an inventory of
Yeah,
from
from
the
DPW.
in the village.
Right.
Great, DPW did. And so what we have in this law is it goes into effect immediately, but there's not any accounting for the fact that there's a fairly large backlog that we might want to treat differently and not say like, here's a list, you've got 30 days, go, and it's a lot. So that's one item. Where we could have a provision that gives them 90 days from receiving the inventory to remove the double poles. There's a provision in the law that allows for extensions that.
Back to a provision requiring utilities to remediate within 90 days. And then if they don't, what?
Well, then.
That's gonna be in a different one.
Well, no, then we would. I think that would go to the same sort of penalty that is contemplated for missing a 30-day deadline. We're just taking like this particular backlog is a sort of a temporary carve out that you've got 90 days for. But once the law, 90 days after the law is passed, that section of the law is functionally kind of irrelevant. But the penalties would.
Your 30 days starts after the 90 days if you haven't done that.
the 30-day penalty would kick in at day 91.
So you're,
But it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's not, we could call it 60 days and then 30 days and it's 90 days. It's just a question of how you, and this for Lori Lee, like how you artistically, graft the fine onto a new provision.
well, it's way more than that. It's what you're suggesting is that this will apply retroactively. There's no provision in here for that, so,
I'm saying we add a provision that says,
which I need to actually
Right.
research. Because I do not know if you can apply retroactively.
No, it would be. Like what, it would be kind of like the vacancy. As soon as we adopt this, they would then have 90 days to use the backlog that we have,
right now.
right?
No,
Right.
because this is, they have to notify you that they're making a change.
Mhm.
And then there's the obligation kicks in. In this case, you're suggesting that you're going to retroactively apply to an inventory without that. In other words, how do we know the last one that was on? How do we, like, it's very, that would be much more than just, here are the locations of all of the
Right.
double polls. What you're suggesting is you're looking to bring almost an injunctive action.
Well, no, because there's already a state law on the books about removing double polls. It just doesn't have any enforcement mechanism to it, so they're already not allowed to have double polls.
But for each double poll that exists currently, we don't know who the last person was that did it, right?
Yeah, but the
That's
main
the point.
point is that one of the most important aspects of this is removing the double polls that are in place. I understand it's relatively easier to draft the language for all new created double
Mhm.
polls.
Right.
But how do we,
Legal.
yeah,
Yeah.
but what we wanna figure out is how to apply that to all the existing ones. I think that's a really important part of this. I don't think we should,
I don't think it can go in your local code, because what you're proposing to do would be to enforce a state law. So you'd have to find the nexus in state statute, which permits you as a local jurisdiction to stand in the shoes of the New York State.
I believe it's there.
And then, but you're saying there is no enforcement in there.
no, well, I think what we're asking you is how do we do that? Like, I understand. It's not in what the draft is from, is modeled on Ardsley, but how do we get there? And if that's a separate local law or a separate thing, then we can separate the two, but
Right.
it's crucial to have both aspects.
Yeah,
Okay, so it might be that we can add it based upon dangerous or damage, like it could be like a maintenance, but I can't see that you can add it in a retroactive fashion here until I could find that section of the New York State law, which says you can pull in and stand in the shoes.
it's in the memo that I sent you
Of the
several
state.
months ago. It's that section of the laws is in there.
That it literally defers their obligation and authorization to
Yes.
local enforcement.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you said there was no enforcement in the
There's
New York State law.
no enforcement at the state level. It defers to others to enforce, and there's a fair amount of some case law that allows for that. So I don't remember the names of it, it's all in the number months ago. So, but that is the sort of crucial thing. We have all of these eyesore double folds that we need to remove, and that's a separate issue from preventing new polls from doubling up. But that's sort of like the thing that people are already riled about, and justifiably so. I mean, some of them are like snap matchsticks with a crutch. So there's that, we ask for notice about future installation of double poles, but there's no penalty for not giving us notice. There's also no contingency for what if it's an emergency and you don't have time to give us notice, which we have to factor in there, and I've got a suggestion there for a penalty for failing to provide notice and a 10-day window after an emergency to give notice of what the emergency was, why it was a valid emergency, and 10 days to cure in that case. There are provisions for extensions, but they don't have any guardrails around them. There's, ask the village administrator, he can say yes or no. But these can keep, particularly just the administrator might just keep saying yes, so we want to have I would suggest we have a cap on the number of extensions and an escalation after the first one to the mayor. There is a section C2 that sort of talks about damage poles and allows utilities to submit an engineered report that says, no, this doesn't pose a safety threat, but that changes the argument from we don't want double poles to is this in fact a safety concern or not a safety concern, which is sort of beside the point.
That is to require them to replace the pole, the safety concern.
No, it's an out that allows them to dispute whether they need to, based on whether it's a safety concern or not. Ardsley's Law may have had a lot more to do with safety, and our concern may be a little bit more aesthetic than Ardsley's was. Safety also an issue, but there are things that double poles may be perfectly safe, but we still don't want them.
I think I mentioned
Right.
previously, double poles also present a safety hazard in terms of visual. You have
Yeah.
a pole that's 1.5 feet wide times 2, you can't see beyond them, so it's an instant safety issue.
Still hurts my eyes.
So I just want to take away the ability of the utility to say, no, it's really no big deal.
Right.
And just in the interest of time,
So you don't want them to have a way to say it's not a safety concern, you just want it all or nothing.
yeah.
It should be up to the village to, at some level.
Yeah, just to like take the dispute off, the ability to dispute safety off the table. There's a piece in here that says like in the event of a major weather event or a natural disaster, you get 6 months off. Well, with the frequency of storms we have, major weather events is language in there, with 6 months off, we get a lot of major storms, so like that could just stop the clock forever. So I would want to shorten that period of time, and because I don't think a legal definition for major storm, I want to limit it to formal emergency declarations from the governor, the county executive, or the mayor. And then two things to give the penalties teeth. One is that the law says it goes to a court of proper jurisdiction.
Yes.
And it also says that the building department issues an appearance notice. Well, an appearance notice issued by the local building inspector goes to our local court, which is fine. But we are aware that the local court does not like to levy fines in a significant way. And so I want to take some discretion away from the judge. And while the law says not less than, I want to specifically say that the court doesn't have a discretion to suspend. You can't do that.
You can say an up to or a not less than, but the discretion of the judge in terms of adjudication is really paramount. It's a difficult process. The only thing you can do is for ongoing violations, you have to issue a violation notice for every day of the violation. And then you have these accruing fines that happen, but that would mean the code enforcement officer would need to issue
One per day.
those. Yes.
Okay, well, then that's something for the code enforcement officer, but the other bullet here, which maybe is more appropriately solved by that. Is that I don't want the judge to be able to consolidate like all, 30 days worth of $2,000 fines and instead of $60,000, make it the $2,000, right? I wanna make sure that since these are big companies that, they only speak the language of a lot of zeros. So I just wanna make sure that our fines are not easily broken down. And if there's a better way to do that, then I've suggested, then I'm happy to do a better way.
On the issue of addressing the existing double polls. If the way that this is written says that the administrator is gonna alert them that. That they have 15 days to cure and whoever is last. Has to remove the poll, is that not?
No, because that's upon notice of an intent to put a second poll up. This is all proactive, which is completely valid and defensible in a court of law. To make it retroactive, you need to add a separate provision to tie it to something that happened that was a violation at the time it happened. It's not,
No,
you
well,
can't,
it says when the village administrator determines that double poll is on. Village highway, street, road, or right of way, village administrator will provide written notice to the public utility.
right, because it starts with a notification
Right, but if the only.
that there's a pending installation that's gonna happen. And then it goes down, then the village administrator reviews it, determines it is a public right of way, and then you're off to the races. But it all starts with an intent to put an utility pole in the right of way. It has to do that because you don't have the authority under the law to make it retroactive when it wasn't a violation at the time.
I didn't realize that.
I'm
this was
saying
set.
that you need to look into the state law because I believe it is still a violation in the past. And now we're trying to have them cure what is a violation of state law.
I understand that, but I was just answering Jessica's
Okay.
question, because she thought it was already in here, but what I'm saying is it's one.
This is only.
And then you review it, that's two, and then three, you determine it's on and then you notify them. That they have to remove it, you give them a time frame to do it, and then we're off to the races, so it's 1, 2, and they all have to happen.
And I can't
So
just,
Lori Lee, considering that this is what we would hope, I assume this is what we would want the draft to say. Can we still open the public hearing?
No,
Or should we
that's-
wait? 'Cause it's
That's
substantial.
retroactivity needs, so I'd have to do work, and you could adopt this as is, and then the retroactive area or a separate area in the code. In the maintenance sort of section could be used to enforce, you know what I'm saying, like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'd rather put
As-
this off a couple of weeks
Okay, as
than
we're-
do the full
Well, oh,
McGill.
okay, because I'm not sure it's gonna go in the same section of your code, I don't know that
we can still.
it's,
So we want it all to happen at the same time so that it's
so two local laws.
to local regarding double.
Yes,
Yeah.
necessary.
And there's no, we can't, according to your current reading, we couldn't add something like, when the village administrator is properly notified of the pending blah, blah, and or when the village administrator encounters.
No, because that's a retroactive,
Right,
and
it's already
there's no
there.
retroactivity in your,
So,
as it stands now in your code, and even when you add this to code.
Yeah.
That's not retroactivity.
right.
What you're suggesting is there's a state law out there that defers to the local jurisdiction. So what I need to find is the language that that would allow you to use that retroactively and the language placement in your code, it wouldn't go in this chapter, so it would have to be a standalone because
But
it
what,
requires you to do a separate local law for every topic. So
what if the utility doesn't provide proper notice and goes and installs a double pole, just as a hypothetical?
Well,
If this
that's
were our-
different.
If this
yeah.
were our law, you're saying that we would have no wherewithal to do anything about it if they didn't notify us?
No, because what, also what, trustee Rosenberg is suggesting that a failure to provide notice after a stated period, a failure to provide notice should have a separate
Penalty, yeah.
fine. Is that what you're
That
suggesting?
is what I'm suggesting. And with that,
Okay.
an allowance for an emergency that does not provide
Understood.
time for.
So under the penalties for offenses, we can add a public utility that fails to provide notice. So that is appropriate to put in here in this local law. It's just that first section about the deferred enforcement of a state level law. And again, there could very well be Department of State regulations and guidance relevant to that would have to go in a separate area, because you do have a section in your code that talks about code enforcement, and that could be, it could be that it's already, the language is broad enough that it catches it up, but that would have to be a separate law completely.
So all that aside, I also, I just support all the
Same.
stuff that we've been talking about. I realize that there's this one particular issue that requires a lot more investigation and another conversation, but there were 6 other points, and I think they're all the right thing and how we should be approaching it, and some, maybe there's some nuanced way that they get modified, so. that's just
But
my-
that I can do the penalty for failure to provide notice, as I suggested, that can go right here, add it here. And then, you have the grace period during the emergencies, that can be added.
Right.
And also the number of extensions with a cap, that's appropriate to put in here.
Right, but I don't wanna split the two laws up. I'd like-
But they will be 2 laws.
I know, but I
They
want
have
them to
to.
happen at the same time in our meetings and in discussions and voted on, so that publicly we are talking about it all at the same time. Even if they're separate. Because otherwise, the information about it that gets put out from this meeting gets diluted, and the impact of people understanding that we're talking about it gets decreased. And I'd rather it all be together so that when people are hearing whole laws, they understand there's whole things. And it's 2 laws, even if they're 2 separate laws.
Yeah, while we were sitting here, I found another example of in New York of where it's, if the public works comes upon a double pole.
So this would stop from day one, any more installation.
Nobody doesn't understand that. We just want to do the 2 things concurrently, whether or not they're one piece of legislation or 2.
Right. Because what happens is we do this and then someone reports on it and then the public hears about it and they only hear half, and then we have another one. And they're like, what's this one? I thought they already talked about double poles.
Or we do this, and people say, well, why aren't they doing anything about the ones that are?
Exactly, so
Because
the work should just.
I just explained.
No,
So-
we understand.
It's about how it relates to
An
the
example
public.
from another.
Okay, anybody wanna speak? What were you saying?
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I found an example from another village of the retroactive, that
Where?
was a local law.
Which village?
Walden, New York. So I was just Googling it while we're sitting here, so.
All right, trustee
There's an
Zuma?